Today on the farm, we're replacing the water heater. Years ago, when I first put this place together, I installed a 120 gallon commercial water heater I bought from some real friendly Russian fellow off of Craigslist who had a whole backyard full of Costco tents stuffed full of water heaters for some strange reason. I didn't ask, didn't really care. It was like $100 and it was 120 gallons and it worked. He promised if it didn't work, I could come back and pick another one of the hundreds of water heaters he had. And I was at his house, so I figured I could trust him. So bought that one, stuffed it in this place, and it worked good for a long time. But over the years, it got rusty, and I had elements burn up, and when I was replacing them, I was like looking around in there with a flashlight, and it looked pretty rusty inside. I mean, it was old when I got it, and I kept using it, and finally I thought, this thing it could be a problem. Like, I didn't want it exploding and leaking all over in the house. So I saw some like a flyer they sent me from the power company that said you could get a rebate for putting in a heat pump water heater, one of those hybrid heat pump water heaters. So it still has a tank, but it has a heat pump on top of it. And you could get, I don't even remember what it cost, but it was still kind of expensive, even with their silly rebate. But I thought, my power bill's always been kind of oddly high, and a bunch of guys I talked to were like, oh, it's got to be that water heater. It's got to be that crazy giant water heater you got. That I was honestly really proud of it, so I talked about it a lot because I really liked that water heater. Most people don't have 120 gallon water heaters in their house. So I bought one of these heat pump ones. It was a 40 gallon A.O. Smith from Lowe's, and I wrestled the thing up into the attic up here. So I'll show you because we're going to install this one in there. I wrestle it through here, up the loft, and then through the attic and back in the corner is where the water heater lives in this place. And I got it. So it's a project. It's hard. It's not an easy thing getting the water heater in here. It's not like it's in a garage or something. And so I wrestled that silly thing up there. It barely fit. It was like that close from touching the ceiling, but it did fit. Got it all wired up and did it all, plumbed it really nice. I was really kind of proud of all that. The thing made it, I want to say like 2 years, not even, and it started throwing these error codes. And I'd go up there and I looked up what the code was. Because it would start beeping and then it wouldn't make very much hot water. I looked up what the code was, and it was something to do with the compressor. And then I had to go to Alaska, do some work, and I came back, and then I dove into it, and but I'd been gone for, a bit for a little while, and I dove into it, and you could, like I said, you could always, or like I forgot to say, you could always just turn the breaker off and turn it back on, and the code would go away, and then you could go back to using it. So that's what we would do. But anyways, got back from Alaska and dove into it to try to figure out what was wrong with it. Determined the compressor's failing in the heat pump. And I was like, oh yeah, this thing's got a warranty. And I don't remember what the warranty was. So I called them and they're like, oh yeah, the warranty on the compressor is up. It was shorter or something is what they told me. And I was like, well, that seems kind of silly because it was advertised as a longer warranty. And then also, and I probably could have argued with them because if I had done it right before I left for Alaska, it would have been fine because it was like in that little window or the warranty period. But I waited because I was busy and to deal with it, and it was out of the warranty period. And I probably could have argued with them because I had called them and they had records of it. But I thought to myself, this silly thing, even if they warranty it, it's not serviceable. I looked that up. You can't work on the heat pump part. The silly thing is up in the top of my attic where you can't get to anything. Like, it's a project to get up there, and I was like, even if they warranty it, do I really want to replace this thing with the same thing again? That's probably just going to fail again. I did a bunch of research on the internet, and it's just all over the place. And then, that they fail really, really quickly. And then I started talking to a bunch of the builders I work for. I'm a dirt guy, so I do, I'm around the construction industry my whole life. Or every day, and even around, or even talking to all the builders I knew, they're like, oh yeah, those things, we have to install them for these energy code things. but they're just junk and they always fail and they're always end up being turned on to the electric mode. So the heat pump part doesn't work. So then it's just a regular 40-gallon water heater anyways, because the heat pump part burns up on them or something. They start throwing codes. And every guy I talked to, I even talked to a friend of mine that owns a pretty good plumbing company, and he said the same thing. He said, it doesn't matter what brand you buy, they're all junk. Heat pump water heaters don't work. They're just, and they don't save any energy, even though you spend more money on them. They don't use much less energy in practicality, like in reality. So anyways, I got frustrated and I just said, fuck it. And we're just going to leave it alone. And we're just going to keep resetting the breaker for a while. I needed to do something else. And the other day I was thinking about it because the thing's been, sometimes it'll go periods of time without having issues. Other times it, you know, it'll go do it every day, which is annoying because you got to pull the ladder down and climb up into the attic to reset the stupid thing. And lately it's been getting real bad. And I was on the internet and Craigslist, good old Craigslist again for my water heaters. I recommend shopping Craigslist for all your water heaters. And I found this thing. I was pretty excited about it. This is a 50-gallon commercial water heater. So I'm back to the commercial water heaters again. And it's brand new, never been installed. It was made in 12 of 2024, which got me real excited because it's not like a rusted out one like the last one I got. And he was asking, I think, $500 for it. So I went and looked at it. But he'd advertised it. He did a good job. He said, this is a 483 phase. And when I showed up, the first thing he said, he was like, you know it's commercial, right? Like, and the first thing he said on the phone was that. He's a super nice guy. And I said, no, I know. Because I started thinking, yes, it's advertised at 480 volts 3-phase. That's what it came pre-wired for. But heating elements only run on 2 legs of power. They can't run on 3, really. Normal ones, anyways. There might be some that do, but water heater elements don't, and I don't know why I know that, but they don't. I know they don't. And then I started looking into it more, and I went and looked at the thing, and I was like, oh, sweet. Those look like normal water heater elements. They don't even look like weird water heater elements, and here are the ones I pulled out. They're not, or they are. They're just plain old water heater elements. Same thread, same everything. The only difference is they're 480 volt rated. Obviously not 3-phase because you only have 2 legs coming in, but they're 480 volt elements. So all I got, and if you do the math, it cuts you down quite a bit. I could have run these on 240 volt, but they wouldn't have made much heat at all. You can do the math. I don't remember what it was. But I was like, shoot, for $15 a piece, I got them installed. They look identical except for the element's a different shape. It's a little shorter and they're rated for 240 volt. $15 a piece on good old Amazon. Bought those, and they're the OEM brand and everything. Stuffed them in there, and then I'm going to rewire this for single phase real quick, and I can show you how to do it. It's pretty simple. And then I'll have a commercial water heater wired for residential, which is 240 single phase. And like when I started researching these things, I was like, are these things actually any better than a regular one, or is it just a regular one with bigger heating elements in it? They do look a little different. I don't know for sure, but so when I looked up the specs for a regular, like a homeowner grade 50-gallon water heater, same brand, they're like 120, 130 pounds. I don't remember, somewhere in that range. This thing it weighs 230 or 40. It's like 100 pounds more, I think, if I remember right. Don't quote me on that. So right off the bat, that tells me the tank's much thicker, which is exciting. It's got to be considerably thicker if it weighs 100 pounds more. And I know the insulation is better because the homeowner grade one was a 92% efficiency. The commercial grade one's 98% thermal efficiency, so that's cool. That made me happy. So I bought the thing for $450 from the guy. We haggled a little just for fun. Bought it for $450 for him. Hauled it home, got the elements in, and I started looking at it. This thing's actually kind of cool. And I didn't realize like what they had in these. The last commercial one I had wasn't like this. It was pretty old. But what's cool about them is this thing has ports. Like right now it has 3 elements in it. So I should technically, I think, have a 50% faster recovery rate than a standard one, than a yeah, than a standard homeowner grade one. But what's neat is it's got holes for what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's got holes for 9 heating elements. So if you really needed a faster recovery time, you could add heating elements to this thing, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't think I'll need it, but it's pretty cool. And then also, like a standard older style water heater, they use these just regular old thermostats. It's just a mechanical bimetal spring thermostat. Super reliable, super simple, cheap to replace. You can buy them anywhere. That's all this thing is using. There's no digital controller. There's no stupid circuit board. None of that to fail on this thing. But what's even cooler is that isn't carrying the load of the heating elements. They're switching these contactors, these big heavy-duty 3-phase contactors, which will, so then they're carrying the load of the heating elements. So that should make that thermostat even more reliable, which is really exciting. And these big contactors, I mean, these are available everywhere in commercial electrical supply stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of versions of them in every shape and size and form you can imagine, but they're relatively cheap and totally available and extremely reliable. And other than that, there's a little transformer in here, and that's simply just to transform power to those things to make sure they're running on 120 volts. So, but it's got all the different voltage inputs. So like right here, I'm going to switch right now. It's wired for 480. I'm going to put this on the 240 volt terminal. Super simple. I can show you. Super simple. See right here, it was wired for 480. I just scooted that lead over to the 240 volt one. Oop, right there, I'm sorry. Scooted that lead right over to the 240 volt one, and we're good to go. The other thing I have to do is change the wiring on the input. Let me reset the camera here. So on the wiring, when you've got, let me find something to kneel on. My knees don't like. Yeah, it's all right. So you got your power coming in here, and I should, in theory, all I have to do is switch these around so that 3 of these legs are carried on one terminal and 3 on the other. So I'm gonna color match just for fun.
That's the power out. I think we should be able to go this one to this one. Oh, 3 signals, and then
there. Well, it's not perfect, but it'll work for today. I'll clean that up a little bit. But so now I've got my 2 legs will come in here. You got your power feed to the transformer that activates your contactors, and then you're just sending 1 leg to these 3 contactors, which will go through this contactor, or to these three contacts, which will go through the contactor into this side of the heating elements. Pretty simple. And then this leg will carry the other side. Very simple. And I'm 99% sure this is going to work just fine. And it should last longer. It should be reliable. There's no silly circuit boards and, you know, all this stuff that they engineer to fail. All of these parts are super reliable commercial grade parts. So I'm pretty tickled about the whole thing. So we'll see. I'll show you what it takes to get the water heater up in the attic. It's kind of funny.